I never thought I'd be the kind of person who'd need a service dog. But here I am. And let me tell you something straight. Max isn't just a dog. He's not a pet. He's the reason I'm still breathing. There were nights I'd wake up gasping, sweating, screaming, lost in the kind of darkness that doesn't go away when the lights come on. Max would nudge me, lick my hand, lay across my chest so I could feel something real. He knows when I'm about to spiral. He pulls me back every time. People don't see the battles going on inside your head. You smile, nod, wave at the neighbors, and they think you're fine. But I wasn't fine. I just looked like it. And then came the letter from the HOA. They said dogs over 30 pounds weren't allowed, called it a pet violation, said if I didn't remove Max, I'd be fined every day. I told them, he's a service animal, protected by law. They shrugged and said the rule applies to all dogs. The manager actually looked me in the eye and said, well, rules are rules. Pets aren't allowed. I stood there, heart pounding, Max by my side, and I felt that old weight on my chest again. But this time, I wasn't going to break. They messed with the wrong person. I didn't call a lawyer. I called my buddy from JAG. I'm a veteran. I served my country for years, did my duty, and came home the same way most do. Changed. At first, I thought it was just the usual adjustment stuff. The nightmares, the jumpiness, the sudden anger. I told myself it was normal, but it wasn't. The doctors called it PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I didn't want to believe it. I went to therapy. I tried meds. I went to support groups. Nothing really helped. Some nights, I was trapped in memories that played like movies I couldn't turn off. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think straight. I felt alone, even in a room full of people. That's when I met Max. Max isn't just any dog. He's a specially trained service dog, picked for me because of what I needed. He knows when I'm about to wake up from a nightmare. Even before I do, he nudges me, licks my face, gets me out of bed. When my chest tightens and I start to panic, Max leans into me. He's like an anchor pulling me back from the edge. Max can sense a panic attack before it fully hits. He presses his paw against my leg, calms me down with his steady presence. He's not a luxury. He's my lifeline. Because of Max, I started to feel safe again. I started to breathe easier. I was able to leave the house, even talk to neighbors. I decided it was time to settle down. I found a quiet neighborhood, managed by an HOA. It looked peaceful, clean, safe. I thought it was the perfect place to heal, to finally feel normal. Little did I know, this new chapter was about to become the hardest fight of all. Things started out fine. The neighborhood was quiet, the neighbors friendly enough. Then, one day I got a letter from the HOA. It said something about a new rule. Dogs over 30 pounds weren't allowed. And if I didn't get rid of my dog, I'd face fines. They called it a pet violation. I read it over and over, hoping I was misunderstanding something. I knew Max weighed more than 30 pounds, but Max wasn't a pet. I wrote back. I explained that Max is a service dog, trained to help me with my PTSD. I told them about the laws, the ADA, the Fair Housing Act, that protect service animals. I asked them to reconsider. The response came fast, cold. The HOA manager wrote back, that rule applies to all dogs, service dog or not. I felt my stomach twist. I couldn't believe what I was reading. How could they not understand? How could they treat Max like any ordinary pet? Max sensed it too. He sat beside me and rested his head on my knee. I ran my hand over his soft fur and tried to calm down. I thought maybe it was just a mistake. Maybe they didn't know the full story. So I tried again. I explained more. I attached copies of my paperwork. I told them how much Max means to me. I told them he saves my life every day. But the answer was the same. The rule was the rule. I was left confused and anxious. What was I supposed to do now? Give up Max. Give up the one thing that kept me going. The one thing that helped me face each day. I wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. The letters kept coming. At first, just one or two, then more. Each one said the same thing. Violation of pet policy. Fines will be imposed. If you don't remove the dog, further action will be taken. I tried to ignore them. I told myself this would blow over, but it didn't. The HOA security started showing up when I walked Max. They'd ask questions, like they were suspicious. Neighbors, who once smiled now, looked at me like I was a problem. Whispers followed me down the street. Max noticed. He'd stay close, alert. Then one afternoon, I went to the clubhouse to meet a friend. Max was with me, of course, but the manager was waiting at the door. She said, "Service dog, or not, pets aren't allowed in the clubhouse." I told her Max was a service animal, but she just shook her head. No exceptions. That hit me hard. I started feeling like I didn't belong anywhere, like I was being pushed out, not for what I did, but for who I was. At home, the nightmares got worse. The panic attacks came more often. Max did everything he could to keep me steady. One day, the HOA manager cornered me outside. Her voice was cold. She said, "Maybe you should move somewhere more appropriate for people like you." Those words cut deeper than any letter. I stood there, frozen. Everything I'd worked for, peace, safety, a fresh start, was slipping away. I wanted to scream, to cry, but I didn't. I broke down later, alone in my apartment. I felt hopeless, like no one cared, like I was fighting this battle all by myself. But then I remembered Max. He looked at me, eyes full of trust and love, and I knew I had to fight back. I picked up my phone and called a friend. Someone I knew could help. My buddy from JAG. I remember that call like it was yesterday. I was nervous, almost shaking. I told my buddy everything. All the letters from the HOA, the fines, the way the manager treated me like a criminal, the way they called Max a pet. He listened quietly. Then he asked for the details. Every single one. Dates, names, copies of the letters, emails, phone calls. I sent him everything I had. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm, steady, the opposite of how I felt. "You did nothing wrong." I blinked. He said it again, slower this time. "This is illegal." He told me about the laws I didn't fully understand. The Americans with Disabilities Act, the Fair Housing Act. He said the HOA had no right to treat Max the way they did. I was hesitant. I'd been burned so many times. I wasn't sure if this would help, but he sounded sure, confident. He said, "Let me handle this. Give me a few days." For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this fight wasn't mine alone. Maybe I wasn't so alone after all. I hung up and looked at Max. His tail wagged slowly, like he knew. I held on to that feeling, because the next few days were going to change everything. A few days after I sent everything to my JAG buddy, things started to move fast. I didn't hear much at first. Then out of nowhere, the HOA received a letter. But this time, it wasn't from me. It was from my buddy. A formal legal notice. It laid out everything the HOA was doing wrong. Cited the Americans with Disabilities Act. Cited the Fair Housing Act. Made it clear that discriminating against service animals was illegal. Federal law. And it wasn't just a warning. The letter made it clear there would be federal litigation if they didn't back off. I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. But then the emails started coming. Suddenly, the cold responses turned warm. They said, "We apologize for any misunderstanding." They promised to review their policies, and they assured me no fines would be imposed. It almost felt like a dream, too good to be true. After weeks of tension, stress, and uncertainty, suddenly things began to change. The very next week, I heard some news that caught me off guard. The HOA manager, the same person who had been so harsh, so unyielding toward me and Max, was removed from her position. They told everyone it was for unrelated reasons, but honestly, I had my suspicions. It felt like her removal was connected to everything that had happened. The letters, the fines, the harassment. Maybe the higher-ups realized how badly things were handled, or maybe they wanted to show they were making a fresh start. Whatever the reason, it felt like a weight lifting off my chest. And that wasn't all. Every violation letter I had received dropped. Not just one or two. Every single one. The stack of letters that had haunted me for weeks, threatening fines and penalties, was suddenly meaningless. And those fines they tried to impose on me, voided completely. It felt like a huge weight was lifting off my shoulders, like a dark cloud of fear and anxiety was finally clearing away. For so long, I had been walking on eggshells, afraid that any wrong move would mean more trouble for me and Max. But now, that fear was starting to fade. And it wasn't just that. The HOA announced they would be scheduling ADA compliance training for all their staff. That meant they were taking steps to educate themselves and their employees about the rights of people like me, people who rely on service animals and other supports. It was a sign that they were serious about making sure something like this never happened again. Not just to me, but to anyone else who might need protection under the law. I won't pretend I trusted it completely at first. After all the pain and frustration, it was hard not to feel skeptical. But deep down, it was a start. A glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, things could get better. That respect and understanding could replace fear and ignorance. For Max and me, this was more than just a legal victory. It was a chance to finally feel safe, really safe, to live without the constant worry of being told we didn't belong, to finally breathe freely, knowing we had a right to be here, as we are. It was a victory I never thought I'd see, one that reminded me how important it is to stand up for yourself, and to never give up hope. Not just physically safe, but emotionally safe. Max and I could finally live here without constantly looking over our shoulders, without fear that someone would tell me to leave, or that Max wasn't welcome. I didn't have to hide who I was anymore, or pretend that I didn't need help. I could be myself, and that felt like a gift I hadn't realized I was missing until it was gone. Going through all of this made me realize something important. Sometimes, people don't know better. Sometimes, they say things or make rules without understanding the real impact on others. They make mistakes, sometimes out of ignorance, sometimes out of fear. But when you stand up for yourself, when you speak out and refuse to be pushed down, change can happen. It might not be easy, it might feel lonely at times, but it is possible. And sometimes, having the right person in your corner, someone who knows the law, someone who believes in you, makes all the difference in the world. After the dust settled, after the fights and the worry, something inside me shifted. The battle with the HOA was over, at least, for now. But the real victory was deeper than that. It was the knowledge that I didn't have to accept unfair treatment, that I had the strength to protect what mattered most, that Max and I belonged here, just like anyone else, and that no matter what, I would keep standing up for myself, because this life, my life, is worth fighting for. But PTSD, it didn't just disappear. It's still there, always lurking beneath the surface. Some days, it feels heavy, like a weight pressing down on my chest. Some nights, the nightmares come rushing back, just like before. I wake up sweating, heart pounding, and for a moment, I'm right back in that place I thought I'd left behind. But even with all that, something inside me has changed. Now I carry something stronger than fear. I carry hope. Hope that things can get better. Hope that I'm not alone in this fight. And I carry Max. He's still by my side, every step of the way. His tail wags slowly, like he knows. Like he knows we won this battle. Like he knows we belong here. Finally, I walk through the neighborhood differently now. There's no more looking over my shoulder. No more feeling like an outsider, or a problem. I'm part of this community. And Max, he's not just my service dog. He's part of me. They tried to treat me like a nuisance, like I was something to be fixed or pushed out. But I'm not a problem. I'm a person, with needs and rights. And Max isn't a pet. He's my lifeline. Together we face the world with more strength than ever before. But here's the thing. I'm not a problem. I'm a human being. Not just some inconvenience to be pushed aside or ignored. I have feelings, hopes, fears, and rights. And so does Max. Max isn't a pet. He's much more than that. He's my right, protected by law. He's my lifeline, the one who helps me face each day when it feels impossible. Without him, I'm not the same person. Together we've been through a lot, and together we stand strong. This whole fight, painful as it was, taught me something important. You don't have to face your battles alone. Sometimes, the right support, a friend, a lawyer, a community, can make all the difference. Sometimes, it's not about shouting the loudest, or fighting the hardest by yourself. Sometimes, standing up for yourself, even in small ways, can mean everything. If there's one thing I want you to remember from my story, it's this. Never be afraid to stand up for yourself. No matter how small or powerless you might feel at times, your voice matters. You matter. To all the veterans listening right now, those who carry invisible wounds and keep fighting every day, and to everyone living with invisible disabilities that others don't always see or understand, you are not alone. You deserve respect, dignity, and to live your life without fear or shame. Keep standing tall, because your story matters, and your fight matters. I want to remind you of something important. You're not alone. No matter what you're going through, No matter how invisible your struggles may seem, there are people who understand, people who care, people who want to see you for who you really are, not just the label others put on you. You deserve respect. You deserve kindness. You deserve to be treated with dignity every single day. It's heartbreaking how often people don't get this. They judge what they don't understand. They see a service dog and call it a pet. They see a cane or a wheelchair and treat it like a burden. They forget that these things, these supports, are lifelines. They are what help us get through the day. So don't ever let anyone make you feel small or ashamed for what helps you survive, for what helps you breathe a little easier, face the world a little stronger. Maybe it's a service dog, like Max. Maybe it's a cane, a hearing aid, a medication, or therapy. Whatever it is, it's part of you. Your right to live your life fully and safely. And here's something else I've learned. You don't always have to fight alone. You don't have to shout the loudest, or stand the tallest to be heard. Sometimes, you just need the law on your side, the rules that protect you and your rights. And sometimes, you need a friend, someone who knows those laws, someone who can stand with you when the fight feels too big. If this story touched you, or if you know someone who might find hope in it, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment and share your thoughts. Your story might be the light someone else needs. Share this video with people who need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Real stories that matter, stories that inspire, and stories that remind us all we're never truly alone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. And remember, your voice matters.